in this life is not that any of us are good or faithful. It's not even really about his influence, because the most faithful and influential of men fall. They are sinners, they die, and they leave us. Our hope today is not that Darrell Moore was faithful. Our hope today is that Jesus is faithful. And the message of the gospel that my dad heard, that a God in heaven loved him, but that while he was yet sinner, Christ died for him. That is our greatest hope in life and death, that our Savior is faithful. And somehow, because Jesus is faithful, because the resurrection is true, somehow it's going to all be okay. The greatest hope is what Jesus not only did with Mary, but what he said to Martha. He said, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. Though he were dead, yet shall he live. Friends, because Jesus lives, Dad lives. And one day his body will reunite with his soul, and he'll receive his glorified body. And so for now, while death still stings, it'll only sting for a moment, because Jesus bore the full weight of this moment on the cross. The grave may wound us, but it cannot win. Christ has triumphed. And because he lives, death doesn't have the final word in my life and Dad's life, and it doesn't have to have the final word in your life, because Jesus wins. Jesus gets the final word. And on July 3rd, Dad entered into the presence of Jesus, and hear me, Jesus won. Jesus won. And I would say, Dad won. And I do believe that that day, a faithful Savior reached out his hand and said, well done, good and faithful servant. I'm going to zig and zag for just a quick moment. I'm going to do something I've never done before. And you can blame Dad. I wrote my first poem for this. Dad wrote poems all the time. Maybe you knew that, maybe you didn't. I'm going to read a poem. It's a selfish moment, so bear with me. In fact, my wife doesn't even know I did this, and I'm crying because she's about to be so embarrassed by this. I titled this, Dad, I Preached Your Funeral Today. Dad, I preached your funeral today. With open Bible, I made my way. Through tears and truth, I stood to say, you showed us how to walk and stay. I told them how you met with God before the sun had kissed the sod, and where prayers were sown and mercy trod, where grace was real and truth stood broad. I spoke of how you loved the word, not just to study, but be stirred. You loved the truth that others heard and held it fast with heart assured. I shared your joy to preach Christ's name, to lift up Jesus without shame. You weren't concerned with crowd or fame. You just stood strong and stayed the same. I told of lands you longed to reach, of souls you'd never cease to teach, of missions formed through burdened speech, and lives you urged to go and preach. I told them how you loved Mom well, how vows you made and you kept and you held. Since 72, the story tells of covenant love that never fell. I honored all you gave at home, the talks, the laughs, the serious tone, the ways you shaped our hearts alone and led us gently to God's throne. You taught us Christ was worth our all, to rise, to serve, to stand, to fall, to answer when we heard the call, and trust him when the night felt tall. I preached to lift the Savior high, to please the Father's watching eye, to keep your legacy alive, to disciple and to multiply. On July 3rd, with Mom by your side, all of us kids with tear-filled eyes. A tear rolled down your peaceful face as you entered your Savior's warm embrace. The room was still, your soul found rest. You saw the Savior, heaven's best. You entered joy, your race was run, and from the Lord you heard, well done. I long to walk the way you ran, to live and die, a gospel man. To finish well what you began and to pass it on as God commands. And when my time on earth is done, and when I have fulfilled my race to run, I'll rise to meet the risen sun and join the saints whose crown is won. I'll find you there with tearless eyes, with Grammy and Grandpa Bob by your side, with Gramp Moore and Granddad Hartel close beside, before the throne where saints abide. For heaven's joy will be complete when we at last in glory meet. You told us where you'd find your seat. Forever we'll find you at Jesus' feet. I want you to turn your attention to the screen. I'm going to let Darrell Moore tell you where you can find him.
If I leave this world of sorrow sometime before you do, just look for me in heaven, and we'll talk the ages through. But if at first you fail to see me, let me tell you where I'll be. I'll be thanking Christ, my Savior, for saving a wretch like me. But if you should reach that city before my time has come, perhaps you'd like to greet me when my race down here is run. Just wait, for I'll soon be coming across life's ebbing sea. And I'll tell you now, dear loved one, just where to wait for me. Don't look 'neath the gates of pearl. Don't look on the streets of gold. Don't look by the walls of jasper, nor among the many sights untold. For I've been longing and I've been waiting for the precious Holy One to see. There I'll be through the countless ages. Look for me at Jesus' feet. There I'll be through the countless ages. Look for me at Jesus' feet.
In just a moment, I'm going to pray, and we'll